Hello, I'm Ollie, and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, a slightly different style of weekly wrap-up video. So, as you may be able to hear, I have a bad cold at the moment. I'm not sure if I got some sort of virus as well, but I feel rubbish and I have zero energy. But I wanted to put up a weekly wrap-up video just to talk about what I've been reading this week. But what I'm not going to do is what I normally do in terms of like any editing or anything like that. So I'm literally just filming this on my phone. When I finish filming it, I'm going to upload it and schedule it. I'm not going to do any kind of post-production type stuff in it because I just need to go back to bed. And I don't have very much to talk about this week either, because normally when I do these videos I talk about what I've read this week, and I've only read 2 books this week, partly because of being ill, partly because of stuff going on at work. And then I also normally talk about what videos are going to be on the channel. I don't know if there are going to be any videos on the channel this week, because as I say, I really feel terrible, and I suspect I may not get anything filmed this weekend apart from this. So we shall see. So you may get a bit of a hiatus from the channel, I'm afraid, while I recuperate and get my energy back. Right, let me talk very quickly then about the 2 things I read this week, and that will literally be the video done. So the first thing then was a buddy read with Randy Ray from the channel Randy Ray the Literate Texan. I will leave a link to his channel in the description to the video. Randy, if you're watching this, so Randy and I are buddy reading this book and discussing it as we go. Randy's a little bit behind me in reading it, so he hasn't at the point I'm filming this, I don't believe he's finished it yet. So Randy, if you haven't finished it yet, don't watch this video until we've had a chance to catch up on the book. So here we go. The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I'm not even going to put like pictures up like I normally do, because that would take far too much energy. So yes, The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I'd heard fantastic things about this book, and I think it merits those fantastic things. It's a very, very good book. There was something about it, though, that didn't quite fully connect for me, particularly in the second half. And I'm not entirely sure why that was, but I felt like there could have been more tension. So anyway, let me tell you what it's about. And I'm going to do a full review of it, so I won't go into too much detail. But basically, it's set in Florida in the 1950s, and it's about a young black kid who gets sent to this reformatory, so like a corrections school, basically. Basically he has a bit of a scrap with another local kid. It's not his fault at all, but the other local kid is A, white, and B, from a influential family. So the kid Robert ends up getting sent to this correctional institution, and it's just awful. It's a really terrible place, but it's also haunted. So there's a really interesting supernatural element to this book, and I thought that was really, really very well woven into the overall story. So, overall this is a historical novel, really, about, and these schools were real. There are well reported instances of terrible abuse and things like that at schools like the one in this book. So it's a historical novel, but with this element of the supernatural really, really well woven into it. Much better, I thought, than the merging of kind of the horror aspects and the historical and social commentary type aspects in Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, which I thought was a really, really good book. But I thought The Reformatory did it better. It combined those 2 things really, really seamlessly. The characters are fantastic. The sense of place is fantastic. You really get to know this place and the terrible stuff that goes on here. The main villain of the piece, who's like the warden, is a fantastically evil character. Really, really interesting. Really, really well done. But as I say, so I found myself reading this really, really rooting for the characters. And in the second half in particular, some terrible stuff that happens, and genuine peril for Robert in particular. There's also parts that are about his sister, who's on the outside trying to get him out and things like that. So, and her parts were really interesting as well, her sections of the story. But I just felt like there could have been a bit more tension. It didn't really get into my gut in the way that some books do. But overall, still, absolutely fantastic. A really, really good book, and one that I definitely recommend. Next up then, so I've literally just finished this in bed this morning. before throwing some clothes on to film this. So this is Chasers by Eve Harms and Mariah Darling. So I'd read a previous book by Eve Harms, which was called Transmuted, which I really, really liked. It was an absolutely crazy like horror novella. This also is a crazy horror novella. Eve Harms and Mariah Darling are both trans, and their experience, a lived experience, definitely informs this book a lot. It is a lot of it is about what it's like to be a trans woman, and it's particularly about the kind of objectification of trans women by straight men. It's really, really interesting. I didn't feel like it was perfectly handled all the way through. There's a bit in the middle which just felt like it was moving away from the horror side of things for a bit too much. There's kind of an interlude almost in the middle, which I could have done without, if I'm honest. But overall, it's really good. So it's about this trans woman who moves into a new apartment building and discovers there's like a peephole in the wall, and through the peephole she can see this woman next door who's into all sorts of very strange sexual practices, BDSM and things like that, with these strange guys. So you've got immediately this kind of weirdness and this kind of mystery to what's going on beyond this wall, and it gradually builds up over time. But also, as I said, this big theme of the objectification of trans women and chasers. I didn't know, but chasers is a term for straight men who pursue trans women, if you like. So it's got elements of a kind of slasher to it. It's definitely got elements of weird horror to it, and it gets more and more extreme as the book goes on. And I guess the strengths of it were the horror, which is excellently done, and the characters, who were all really, really engaging and interesting, particularly the main character. But yeah, it felt like the pacing was not perfect. So overall, definitely good, but I think it could have been better with maybe a tiny bit of editing. So yeah, definitely an interesting book though, and I'll definitely read more stuff by Eve Harms and Mariah Darling in the future. Okay, in terms of currently reading, and so I've literally just started, and by just started, I've looked at the first page. I haven't got any further than that. A book called Osgood is Dead, by Cooper S. Beckett. So this is the fourth in the Spectral Inspector series. So I did a video about the first three books a while ago. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. This one comes out, I think it came out yesterday. I think it came out on Friday, either Thursday or Friday of this week. It's just come out. And it's I'm really, really looking forward to it. I loved the first three books. They are kind of occult detective books with a very modern twist. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. Right, so that's the books the books that I have read and what I'm reading at the moment. I'm just going to show you something else though, because I got new glasses this week. I've got two pairs ordered. One pair are what they call them occupational glasses or something like that, which basically means they're good for reading, they're good for using the computer, and you can see in an office, you can see a few meters, but they're not good for long distance. And I also got these, which are reading glasses. These frames were cheaper. I'm really looking forward to getting the other ones, but they haven't come in yet because they were slightly posher frames. But these frames were cheaper. But my God, I didn't realise how bad my eyes were for reading. I put them on so you can see what they look like. But yeah, the page is so much clearer now than it has been for a long time. So I'm delighted to have got some really good reading glasses. It definitely feels like it's going to make reading a lot easier. Right, anyway, I've waffled on a bit there. I hope you like my new glasses. I'm going to go and make myself a cup of tea now and have a lie down. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic reading week. Let me know in the comments what you've been reading. Don't forget that next weekend, is it next weekend? I can't remember what date it is. Yes, next weekend is the Garb August Wasted weekend. So a weekend where we will be reading, should you want to, trusty books. I'm going to be reading, at the very least, Promotion Tour by Terry Harknett, which is a book about the paperback industry, a scandalous book about the paperback industry. I will probably, if I manage to finish that, I'll try and squeeze something else in as well. But yeah, that's my plans for next weekend. So do join in if you fancy it. Right, anyway, I will leave it there and say, as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.